lift up mine eyes to the hills, from whence cometh mine help. Mine help cometh from the Lord which made heaven and earth. He said, He will not suffer thine foot to be moved. The Lord which keepeth thee, He will not slumber nor sleep. Oh, the Lord is thy keeper, the Lord is thy shade upon thy right hand, upon thy right hand. Mine help, all of mine help cometh from the Lord. Mine help, mine help, mine help. All of mine help cometh from the Lord.
If you're just tuning in, the program is Rehoboth Hour. We're coming your way straight from the Church of Pentecost, Achimota English. This is our broadcast that comes your way every Sunday afternoon, where we seek to discuss the issues that pertains to our Christian life. Today, we are privileged to have my brother, and he's also a deacon of the Church of Pentecost, Benjamin Achimota. Benjamin has a very intriguing and fascinating story at the same time, but it will leave you thoughts spellbound to think deeply about life, health, and faith. Ben, it's such a privilege to have you.
Thank you so much for
Ben,
having me here.
I mean, for most people who do not know, we will want to start with a brief story about who you are before we go into the topic, dying many times.
Okay, thank you so much. For those who are new to me, my name is Benjamin Achimota. I'm a sinner who was found by the grace of God. Professionally, I'm a broadcaster. I've done many other things prior to this. And I'm fully dedicated to the cause of God. And anytime I get opportunities such as a wonderful platform like this, we want to use the opportunity to see how best the things God has given us the opportunity to come to terms with and experience, we can use it to also help the things God will lead us to help other people with. So basically, this is about me, sir.
Great. Ben, I want us to go straight to the topic of our discussion. When we put out the banner of this program, the topic was dying many times. People started asking questions. Why this topic? Especially on a program like this, where we talk about faith, where we talk about building ourselves as a Christian community. Why the topic? And the subject of that topic, before we go to the book, which you have authored, how many chapters do you have in the book?
Okay, so the book has basically about 6 chapters. Yes, it's basically a 6-chapter book.
Before we go into that, there is a real story. This is not a work of fiction.
Yes, please.
It's your life story.
Yes, please.
Do you want to tell us a bit about it before we go into the book?
Okay, so Thank you so much. Dying many times. It has also a subtopic, the struggles of a cancer patient. I never imagined any time in my life that I was going to author a book by this title. But life happens, and then when life happens, God gives us the opportunity to be able to use the experiences that we go through to be able to help other people.
Yeah.
So in summary, dying many times is basically the story of my family. I think somewhere the middle of 2019, my family stumbled into cancer of the blood, specifically leukemia. And all that we went through, which unfortunately my wife succumbed to the disease, is what has been turned into this particular book. It was my desire that many of the things that we went through, it was also partly because we were not ready for it. We had not been programmed for it. We didn't expect it. If we had the opportunity of a book like this, or somebody telling us what they have been through in a similar situation, probably, even if we could not have avoided the ultimate, which was death, we would have been prepared mentally, socially, and conditioned for it, so that the trauma, the devastation that occurred afterwards, it would have been less harmful than it was. We basically stumbled into it. So this is basically what this book is about.
How old was your wife?
My wife was 29 years.
29 years. So you married, I always say I was there at the wedding. A very beautiful wife. I mean, for those who knew her, very, very beautiful. And it came as a shock to you. And for that reason, you've taken time to chronicle some of the key issues that goes there. More importantly, I want to ask, when it comes to your faith, what has it done to your faith? We'll go into aspects of but to start from, during the time that she was sick, how did you engage your faith?
Okay, so I know that there are many people who belong to the English assembly of this church. They are listening with their families, and I'm sure once it's online, we will have many other people
coming later
who are not even members of the church who will join in. Let me say that the things that we read about other people in the Bible are not fiction. They are real life stories. For example, the story of Abraham, who had been called by God to be the father of many nations. And then for 25 years in marriage, they didn't have an issue. And then the story of, if you like, Job. Job, we are told, was a very resourceful, industrious, prosperous man who had everything going for him. And then suddenly, he lost 10 of his children, everything, including his own body, to the point that his wife said he should curse God and die. We can talk about many others, including Joseph, who was in prison, including Joseph, whose wife, betrothed to him, was found with an issue when he had not had any sexual intercourse with the person. So these things are real. But in my specific case, I have read these things. I have prepared myself that I'm ready for God at any time and every point in time.
That's right.
But then, we were not hoping for this. We were praying that God will deliver us from it.
That's right.
And we still feel very hurt that we were not delivered from it. To say that it was all well and good, God, who knows all things, will know that sitting in this church, I'm not telling the truth. We feel very, very, very hit by it. And we're still asking God why. But then, we are in his hands. In him do we commit the things we love and the things we don't love. Because somewhere in the Bible, the Lord has said that all things work together for the good of them that love the Lord.
That's right.
It is difficult immediately to know how a young boy losing his mother is going to work for his good, or how a young man losing his wife is going to work for his good. But we believe in God.
That's right.
That once he says it will work for our good, we must live with it. And that is where our healing begins from.
That's right.
That we trust God. We believe that it is for our good. Even though our mind, the Bible says that the wisdom of God, if you want to compare it to anything between the heavens and the earth, it is still bigger than it. So in my limited scope of seeing things and knowing and understanding things, this doesn't look good for me. But then I believe that the God who knows better, who wishes above all things that it may be well with me, even as it is well with my soul, knows that this is good for me. But you see, the truth is that I don't immediately see that good. I may see it one day. The Bible says that now we see things in part. But when that which is full and complete comes, then we shall be like him. So it is my trust in God. It is my hope in him, even though I don't understand which is keeping me going. And in fact, during the trial, during the process, so you get to a point where you feel very tired physically, and you are not sure that you are going to make it. You will pray that God help me, and then you will see another day, and then we went through 9 months, and I'm very surprised I'm alive. Because when finally we met the clinical psychologist, she was like, your body cannot take more. Your body cannot keep going on because it has endured too much. But so how we were able to come this far, it's one of the goodness of God. There were issues of money. So you want to buy drugs, and then you have exhausted your account. And then you have also exhausted the immediate circles. You know, we all have people we go to immediately when we are down. Right. But when they have also finished doing their part, because resources are limited at every point in time. So what do you do again? Then God will make a way. A way. That's right. A way. So as expensive as the treatment was, and as impossible as it sounds, if you should put the figures together, given my resources available to me, what affected us was never that we could not afford our drugs. God kept making a way, one way or the other. And then maybe the last thing I will say here is that I believe that we will all one day go to the Father. One day we will all go. We don't know that we will all become gray, or we will all become like Abraham or Methuselah.
We wish we would, but
yeah, we don't know.
We don't know.
And then also we don't know the circumstances
by which we will live,
by which it will happen. So when I apply my mind to it, it's easy to say that, okay, so maybe her time was not as long as she wanted it or we wanted it.
That's right.
And probably we didn't think that it was going to be as painless as it happened to her, because it was very, I call it systematic torture. It was very painful. It's just like you want to kill somebody, you don't shoot them, but then you start mutilating them. You cut their hand and then you let it hang, and then you let blood drain, and then you cut another. She went through a system of pain until she finally left. But again, we trust that in all things, God works for the good of them that love him, those called according to his purpose.
So if you're just tuning into the program, if you are just logging on Facebook, do us a favor. You can share it to your own wall. I've seen some people sharing it to their wall, which is good. God bless you. This message must go far. We're sitting and speaking with the author of the book, Dying Many Times. And it is the story of her own wife. It is not a fiction or something that he heard. He lived whatever he has written. And he wrote this book with a mind that people will benefit from it. People who are living with cancer, people who have seen people living with cancer. And then he intrigues us with something that we must all take note of. Ben, you know there are pandemics. Pandemics affect a whole lot of people, like coronavirus. The whole nation was affected. So it is easy for somebody to associate or empathize or understand the situation of coronavirus. In your situation, it is something that is remote to other people. The reality of cancer and its treatment in our country. I want you to talk about it because you engage the system. How is it for us as a country?
Okay, so I just decided to open a portion of the book, and since it's a book program, maybe it would be cool to just read a portion of the book. So I'm reading the introduction. It says that the records of those currently afflicted with cancer all over the world are in their millions. As far back as the year 2016, the World Health Organization estimated that globally, more than 11 million people are diagnosed with cancer every year. 11 million every year. The Globacon estimate that 16,600 cases of cancer occur annually in Ghana. 16,600 cases of cancer occur annually in Ghana, yielding an age standardized rate of 109.5 cases per 100,000 persons. And I'll end on the last paragraph here. The Ministry of Health have noted in its national strategy for cancer control in Ghana, and these statistics are from 2012 to 2016, that cancer causes 11 million deaths every year, or 12.5% of the 58 million deaths worldwide. This being more than the combined total deaths from HIV and AIDS, TB, and malaria.
So what you're saying is that if we put HIV, malaria, which is very common everywhere,
yes, and TB, cancer causes more death than all this combined.
Wow.
Yes.
And it's real, it's happening.
So the reason why this is wow or surprising is the opaque nature in which the disease is shrouded. There is no discussion about it. People get cancer and then they disappear.
Oh.
Not everybody is comfortable to do what I'm doing. That my wife passed on with cancer and I want to discuss the details. To the point that you publish gory images of the situation in a book. But then where do we start from? So it is happening. And the people who have bought the books more are medical professionals, doctors and nurses.
I've seen a doctor give testimony.
and they don't feel that this is everyday thing. They are as equally overcome with emotions as any other person who has never seen death before. Because the issues have been taken so much for granted. They've been looked on. It's been like, oh, it didn't exist. Until somebody start discussing it in a manner that makes them pause and re-look at the figures again. That makes them realize that, no, this man died of cancer. This one was colon. This one was kidney. This one was leukemia. This one was brain. I have had people come to me. My father was leukemia, a brain cancer. This one, it was colon. This one, it was that. People are dealing with it, but there is stigma. Yeah. So to give you the gravity of the stigma, in our case, for example, apart from my mother, my father, my in-laws, the mother and the father, nobody in my family knew that my wife was dealing with cancer, because my wife was like, hey, if they get to know that I have cancer, maybe even the plate we eat in, they will not encourage me to eat in the same plate. That is heartbreaking. It's a married woman who has her own home, school student. Why must it get to a point that because of a condition that she did not, it's not like AIDS, where you can say that, oh, you are promiscuous, you are indisciplined, you are unreligious, you've gone to engage in an affair. That she had leukemia not because it is in the blood or she engaged in anything she shouldn't do. She had what we call acute lymphoblastic leukemia. According to the professor who worked on her, who is also the head of medical school at the University of Cape Coast, Professor Akem, there is no known cause. It just happens. You can just have it. And that is exactly what happened. And for most people...
It's not because she ate something...
No. It can just happen. For most people listening, when we had the condition, it took us 3 months to know that it was leukemia.
Why?
Prior to that, the doctors were managing the symptoms, and we had spent so much dealing with the symptoms, because most of our health facilities do not immediately have the expertise, either in personnel, in technology, or even in facility, to immediately know that this situation might have cancer.
That's right.
Cancer is a very specialized department in our healthcare management, so that even if you go to 37 now, you may not be able to undergo chemotherapy at 37 or any of the private facilities. You have to deal with the teaching hospitals, as far as I know. So we spent so much managing symptoms. Okay, she was bleeding. We managed that. And then the bleeding stopped. But she was still bleeding under her skin. So you see spots on her skin, which we thought that this is a dermatology issue. Yeah. So her skin is having issues, blah, blah, blah. Not knowing that it was blood, that was draining under the skin. The long and short of this is that by the time, the 3 months that we came to the root of the situation, the condition had matured so much that even if the efforts and the resources were there, the doctors were walking a very thin line in trying to help her. And that is how come we need to engage in some of the way forwards that are suggested in the book. If you go to page 206, I talked about National Sensitization Program. And I'll just summarize it here. National Sensitization Program. What do I need to do if I have cancer?
Okay.
What do I need to do if I don't have cancer? So you take HIV, for example. When somebody has the HIV virus, they know what to do.
Okay.
And if somebody does not have the HIV virus, they know what to do. They are in this, okay, so just to bring it home, they know what to do. The HIV patient know what to do because there is the National AIDS Commission.
Okay.
That has engaged in a national campaign.
Even from primary school.
Resourced. They are in our schools. They are in our departments and agencies. There are health facilities and posts that anybody can just walk in and get tested with precondition of counseling. And so if somebody gets in there, you are not going to, it's paid for. So it is easy for somebody to just get themselves to become aware of their status. Alternatively, if you don't have it, the campaign and the education has gone so well that you know exactly how to live your life. For example, I don't use the same blade with my own son. I don't engage in sexual intercourse unprotected. And that is not to say I'm a Christian, so I don't do that. But I'm saying that people who do that
They know
are
that.
minded that they are protected in a certain way. Beyond that, if you have it, you know where to pick your antiretroviral drugs.
That's right.
And then this campaign keep going. And as it stands now, HIV is not, to my mind, a pandemic. Because the situation is considerably under control. And as you saw from the statistics I just read, cancer is claiming more lives than this. So what do? Why don't we engage in the same approach which we did with the national sensitization on AIDS? And I can just talk about COVID, and then I can talk about other things. COVID, we have no cure. COVID, we have not even been able to put our hands exactly on it. But you are in max, and I am not in max, because I understand that once you are in and I am not in, we have a certain kind of protection.
And we have
I saw you use the sanitizer, and it is part of your effort to prevent yourself from it. We can do the same thing with cancer. And I made the suggestion that we need a national cancer authority.
Okay.
A national cancer authority, upon the coming into force of this book, will be that the president or government must set up a committee of eminent professionals. The specialists at Kolebu, they are there. Dr. Ekem and her team, they are there. All of them, they are there. Can we put together a national committee that will prepare a draft bill, advise government and prepare a draft bill that will go to parliament to establish a law that will bring into force the National Cancer Authority.
Okay.
So that once the National Cancer Authority comes into force, it does for cancer and leukemia or oncology cases what the National AIDS Commission is doing for HIV.
Okay.
The only difference is that this time it has been hewn from the Ghana Health Service. Yeah. It has been empowered by law. It has its own funding and budget. It can go into specific details to understand what it is with cancer and how do we approach it with respect to testing, with respect to drugs, with respect to facility, with respect to research, with respect to helping families like myself who have gone through this. Because it's not just the patient who is a victim, but then they leave behind children. Who ensures that this child becomes everything the parents would have wished for them? Irrespective of the death. Because look, they are properties of the state before the parents. That's why you can't take your life. And I can't take, because we belong to the state of Ghana. If anything should happen to an American citizen here, you can't take a photograph of that citizen. You cannot put that citizen through certain trials if their government has enlisted that. For example, you can't just immediately imprison a U.S. citizen. You just have to repatriate that citizen so that their laws will deal with it. We must be protected as nationals.
Okay, let me. And again, if you are just watching us, the discussion is about a book that Ben has written, and it's about cancer, leukemia. This what he faced because the wife was in the situation. Let me ask you this question. In what you went through with your wife, what do you think could have been better? Because you talked about it that even ultimately, if she has to pass away, the process and the things that happened before is what you have also chronicled. What in your mind can you pinpoint through the one that she was diagnosed to the time that she passed? What do you think could have been better?
Okay, so we can take the rest of the year to discuss that. But you see...
The salient ones.
Yes. But you see, given all that I've been through in this country, I see myself as part of the solution.
Right.
Rather than just lampoon some system and say that They are responsible. And that is why I have dedicated a whole chapter of the book discussing solutions.
Okay.
So I didn't just write a book and cried out, but I offered solutions that can, in my view, deal with the problem. Okay, so the first solution I offered is the bit from the government side. One, cancer management is a specialized field. You don't need general doctors. You don't need general nurses. You don't need general pharmacists. Everybody on the chain, including the lab assistants, you need specialists. So we need to have the cancer authority set up by government. And then I have intimated in the book that once this authority is set up by the government, one of their major and immediate work is to first and foremost deal with the issue of the lack of staff. So a typical case in point is that if you go to the Cape Coast Teaching Hospital, and this is a teaching hospital, it serves the whole of the central region and its environing communities. Yes. When you go there, every case involving cancer is managed by the hematology department. Okay. Now, the hematology department is blessed to have Professor Ajoa Ekrem as the head of that department. But here's the problem. Prof is also the head of the medical school at the University of Cape Coast. Now, Prof has one assistant who is a medical doctor, not a hematologist, a medical doctor. Now, Prof is generally almost away because even if you are a headmaster of a secondary school, you are not available. This is a university medical school. She is the head. So all the cases that come is referred to this one doctor, whom at the time was a nursing mother. Okay. So fancy the situation where I won't exaggerate, and I will be very, very, very generous, that you have 2 leukemia cases, just 2. And then I wish that people know what leukemia is. When you have one person dealing with leukemia, and you go and stand by the bed of that patient, you can stand by that bed the whole day. So you have just 2. You don't have plenty.
A lot is required.
You have 2. And then this medical officer is the same person who is attending to people on OPD basis, so that if, let's say, your case is not an admission case, and then you come and take drugs and just go, she's the same person you come and meet to consult for you. She is writing the drugs, she's writing. So my suggestion is that the cancer authority must put in place measures to recruit more. And I propose that to increase the scope of the doctors and the nurses, we should give out scholarship. Yes, the traditional scholarship secretariat can give us scholarship. But then here is the innovation. We as a country have a lot of bilateral relations with other countries, say US, say Canada, France, and all of that. Some of the monies that come to us as grants can be converted as scholarship schemes for people who want to study medicine, to take advantage of that and go and study. The problem with biological science, which leads to medicine in this country, is that every year people are pegged at aggregate 6. And then they are sprung through interview. And then they take, as far as I remember those days, they take about less than 100 people, because that is how the University of Ghana Medical School can cater for. Now, the people who did not get through, it's not because they didn't qualify to become doctors. They cannot be accommodated by the system. Because then, if somebody had aggregate 24 and is willing to pay full without government subvention on their fees, they allow the person to come and study.
As fee paying.
As fee paying. So aggregate 24 can qualify to become medicine, but aggregate 7 cannot. Because there's no space for his ache. So people, all those who are falling behind such space are doctors, human resource. The system is turning away. Why don't we use some of the monies that we say, okay, U.S. has given China, Ghana, so and so dollars, and so we are grateful. Why don't we let all of such people, including Aggregate 24 and all of that, go and become doctors? People, a country like Cuba has been able to train so much doctors that they give doctors on loan,
Okay, so
including this country.
So-
So one of the problems, as I identify, is short
Of
medical
staff.
supply. And this is the solution.
and here you're saying it's not just doctors, it's about nurses.
No.
and-
All the people who are managing
They
the
are
chain,
not cancer-
they are not professional. They are not specialists. They are nurses.
That is what you saw. But will you say this is the general situation in the country?
It is not the case of what I saw. To write a book, you need to research.
Okay.
So, in fact, there are doctors who so let me give you a typical example. So, a nurse is supposed to give a patient 50 milligrams of prednisolone.
What is prednisone?
Prednisolone is a drug, and then it must be paired.
What does it do?
It must be paired with omeprazole, so that the omeprazole will taper the effect of the prednisolone
Okay.
on the stomach.
Okay.
Okay, so the nurse comes, and then you must be able to take your breakfast, and then you take your prednisolone to line up your stomach. So you take your omeprazole to line up your stomach
In
before the
preparation.
prednisolone, because the prednisolone has what do we call it? Oxidation effect. That is, it erodes portions of your stomach wall, so that you can easily get ulcers or things like that. So a nurse comes, and then the nurse is on night duty, and before she hands over, she must serve the morning medications. Okay, so breakfast is not ready, because the breakfast will come around 7 o'clock or 8, but they must give them the medication around 6. So the nurse comes, and then the person has not eaten,
He wants to leave.
and then the nurse too wants to leave. So the nurse doesn't just only serve the medication, the omeprazole is also finished. And then you keep dosing the patient with prednisolone for a period of 1 week. And then this patient developed complication. Because see, I don't need to tell you that if you were a specialist, a specialist nurse in oncology cases, you know the nuances. And in fact, the strange thing is that when the patient starts reacting, they are lost. That, why? Why are you reacting? You should be able to quickly know that, okay, did you take your food? Did you take it with this? And then be able to track and go back to the thing. But they are confused. But the cancer specialist, as in the doctor who come, will immediately ask, so which drugs have you been taking? How did you take it? This morning, have you eaten? And then they know where it is. So it's not like I said from the beginning, this is not about berating anybody. It's a question of
Institutional and...
no, it's a question of, it's not like the nurses who did that meant bad. That is what the hospital has. They don't have.
It's a training issue.
No, I mean, they don't have cancer nurses.
Okay.
They have general nurses, and then we have cancer situations. So should they tell you to go home? No. So looking forward, we can train more. You remember some time ago in this country, we had this issue of exodus of doctors going for greener pastures. But today, most doctors and nurses, in fact, nurses in particular, are always on the street demonstrating for placement, because a vision was birthed to ensure that we don't get ourselves in that fix where you are trained by your nation and then you decide to leave because there are so limited numbers of you at a point in time. And then now that has been breached. So we are saying that, of course, my interest is cancer. And I'm saying that for us to be able to bridge the gap in that field too, we need to have a body that looks into the situation. And one of the things they should be minded about is staff.
Okay.
And they need to put in place that measure to get adequate. I mean, the scholarship exchange program is just one other means. I've also suggested about setting up a cancer fund which not only government will put money into it. If right now, Kwesi, you want to support cancer, where will you take your money to? Where will you take your money to? You only need to identify a cancer patient and give the money to. But how do we revolve those funds so that it can grow through investment, and then we can use the overflow to do research, to build centers, and to train doctors?
How long was your wife in the hospital?
9 months.
9 months. Can you give us an idea, the costs of keeping a cancer patient for, let's say, that 9 months, if you could put together?
I can't give a cost. What I know is that I lost everything. And I mean, how much wouldn't you give if your husband, your wife?
I know. I mean, for you, I understand, but because of our audience, I want us to have an idea what we are talking about. For instance, if I take, let's say, look, I mean, about a month ago, I was in the hospital. I know the condition I was treating, how much it cost me. If somebody should get cancer, what should we expect in terms of costs?
Okay, so let me just read a portion. It's a book program, so let me just read a portion I noted specific to this question here. And okay, so I start from here. And here I was talking about...
Which page of your book? Because some have
page
the book.
250. Page 250.
Okay.
And supporting cancer.
Do you have one of the book there so that the camera could please pick the back of the book?
Okay.
Is this the only copy? So there is a book, and we want to also talk about the book. It's now available for purchase. I bought 2. Some people took it from me. So please, the author himself is here. If you want a copy, we can talk about it. This is, can the camera pick the book for me? All right, please, let's go on the page.
Okay, so Kwesi's question is how much did I spend? But I want to just read to give an idea of it. Okay, so support from one social network is as important as those earlier discussed. While God is able to help his people in the most unexpected way, and I'll come back to support from family and network is important. I believe that God has positioned man in the context of friends, work, church, and community to enable this use their consolidated strength to complement the efforts of a member who comes under attack. That is why we build armies, governments, and unions. What is the point in nurturing friendship that spans our educational, work, religious, community life if these cannot help us when we are at our lowest ebb? My wife's condition brought me to the humbling realization that no man is adequate without another's help. In the case of cancer, this is real. It did not matter a person's wealth, and this is your point. In the case of cancer, this is real. It did not matter a person's wealth, influence, and power, or even knowledge. The moment you are diagnosed of disease, your personal resources and influence pale into insignificance in comparison to the demands of the disease. That is how I'll answer that. No matter your personal wealth, the moment you are diagnosed of leukemia or cancer, your personal resources pale into insignificance. Anybody who has dealt with cancer, I am not really interested to know the money they had prior to the condition. They remain broke. I mean, people like us shouldn't deal with cancer. You know, people like, I don't know, because the monies that we talk about, where are we going to catch it from? Where are we going to get it from? I don't know if you get my drift.
I understand.
I don't want to say there are some people who should get cancer, but maybe some of us should get malaria, or some of us should get ulcer. You know, but cancer, even in advanced countries, they seriously rely on government subventions. Develop well with systems. They know that individuals cannot deal with it. And I need to emphasize this point. When somebody has cancer, the person has not gotten his personal problem. It's a national problem. It is how we are dealing with corona. Why don't we leave corona to individuals to fight for it? Why? Why is the state involved the way it is?
Because the way the disease manifests itself, the way the disease drills individuals, the capacity of the disease to weigh in on an individual, your knowledge, your resources, your connections cannot help. You need a consolidated effort from everybody to stand for you. And that's how can we survive the disease. And I am thinking that we all know this reality about cancer. Whilst I was there, I met a former deputy chief of staff come there. And then the next moment, I saw an obituary notice.
Wow.
And this person will not talk about cancer. Or no, why any family there? Nini and also the to and also why your family there now. Now, we also there to know why any family there now. We are just dealing with it on the private level and we are failing. But I think that, Chrissy, the time has come for us to understand that we cannot defeat this. And you see, when we talk about defeat, people are thinking about, okay, so there's no cure, or the cure, you can't find it. So there's no cure for HIV.
Yeah, how we manage it.
There's no cure for COVID. But how are we dealing with it? We are dealing with it through sensitization. How can somebody have cancer? And then you tell the person to go to queue for blood samples to be taken. You tell the person to go to 5th floor to do a scan. How can somebody have cancer? And then you expect the person to buy about 10,000 cost of medication. And then you tell the person that the person has relapsed, so you should put that medication aside and go and buy another one. And there's no state intervention. It is wrong. We can do it. We need to put our minds to it. We just need to decide that we are doing it now. The last elections, the NDC government put up a leukemia and a cancer fund. I don't know who advised them, but that is the way forward. We need to have a fund where either we decide that people can apply and then be vetted and given on a need or case-by-case basis, or we give it to them wholesale, or we allow the National Health Insurance to include this particular condition. And there are phases of it. We have the labs, we have the drugs, and then we also have the family support that must all go with it. We cannot say that. And you see, these ideas look falutin. They look very exotic until you have it. Until somebody in your family has it. Or until it is you in the hot seat. Just recently, somebody drew my attention to a 13-year-old boy in the Volta region. He has leukemia. How can a 13-year-old boy in the Volta region get leukemia? How? How can that happen? I can just imagine, and it is the mother who is taking, it is so cruel for us as a nation to leave these things to individuals.
So then, if somebody reads this book, in the first place, who are the category of people you want to speak to with this book?
Okay, so this book is for policymakers.
Policymakers?
I'm telling policymakers what they have not had a practical experience of. They have the power, but they are not dealing with families with cancer. We have dealt with it. So we've shared our devastation with them. It should bring them to that personal touch, that passion, not that detachment and that conference and that kind of, we have to make. I want them to know that this thing is real. It's happening to somebody. I have lost my wife. Somebody has lost the mother. Somebody has lost the child. We are still dealing with the aftermath. So if they passed a law to help us, they are helping human beings. We will be grateful. Solutions would have come to individuals. Their election would have been valid. That's one, for policymakers.
Good.
We've also written this book to campaigners like your platform, like the media, like the international NGOs, who are always working around the clock to help situations like this. That this is a feather in their cap. This is to let them know that their effort is not just speaking to the air. Real people are suffering, and if their campaign succeeds, real people would have succeeded with it. And then this will give them evidence to buttress their cases as they go about their clamoring. And then this book is for medical doctors. The kind of negligence we saw can be avoided. And I remember when my wife was going to give birth, the way the nurses were behaving. And then it was time for a nurse to give birth. And the nurse says that she won't see us. And they said, oh, so you can't push. You know, you are a medical doctor first, but then you are a human being. This can happen to you. So we have categorized the information in this book as our feedback. What we don't do so well in this country is giving feedback in a more respectful and a decent manner. We've been, by the grace of God, we've been to school. So if you disagree with somebody, there are means to approach it. We have put it in a book. If they have concerns, and we were careful that throughout the book, we wrote to all the hospitals we've talked about that we are ready to integrate their concerns. Okay. And after the book, we've given them copies. That is what we've said about them. Okay. If they disagree and they feel that the criticisms are unfair, they can respond through writing. But it will interest you to know that Prophet Hakim sent me a text message. Maybe we are not being challenged. Let me put it that way. And she described the book as soul searching. And she says that, may God answer all my prayers concerning this book. And may God reveal himself to me in his fullness. And this is the professor who managed my wife's case. And some of our comments were very critical of what happened under her. Yeah. But then she accepted them that this is soul searching. And this is time for us to move forward. And the things in this book will help them as a profession. So medical doctors and health professionals will get feedback. And then to families. Maybe I should say this. Because see, there is a reason why God put people in the context of family. God had the power to let you come forth. But he waited until you had a mother, you had a father. And then he positioned you in the context of that.
He could have dropped that from heaven.
Yes. In the case of Adam, he just picked sand and then he did it. He could have just done that. But we cannot be adequate in ourselves. What is happening in our country is that the emphasis on the nuclear family is killing us. So when I have an issue with me and my wife and my kids, all that the extended family feel responsible to do is that we'll visit you at the hospital. Oh, you see, we're at the hospital. Near Costrano. No, you cannot help anybody with cancer that way. When somebody is having cancer, the whole family, and I'm talking about the extended family, has cancer. They must immediately decide among themselves. Okay, so it is Elijah's mother who has cancer. So quickly, who must immediately become a mother to Elijah? So you pick Elijah, you give it to Akosia Mansa to be with Elijah, and this is Elijah's new hope. So Elijah's eating everything, is taking care of them. Now, how do we also deal with the medical aspect of the situation? So the family must constitute a medical team among themselves and then have a head. So that medical team will deal with, and the families are large. So that will deal with the drugs.
For you know, there is even a nurse in the family.
Yes, the drugs, the prescriptions, the blood, the transfusions, and then they will engage the doctors at an intellectual level. Okay, so you say we need 6 negative platelets. You are requesting for 6 negative platelets in the COVID-19 era, where nobody wants to donate platelets. And this is negative platelets. Really, will you need all of those? You know, so that they can come into a certain arrangement with the doctors. That doesn't seem that they are doing the work of the doctors for them, but they make the work of the doctors easy because they have a group that is supporting and buffering. And then they are able to liaise with them. And then the whole family too can decide that every day of the week, today, Kwesi, you will go on Monday. Wednesday, Harriet will go. Thursday, this one will go. But on Sunday, all of us will go.
Go.
And
because
then
we are available.
And then go and visit and then pray with the person. Because here is the case of a patient who is being injected with drugs. And the drugs are so toxic that it is destroying the person's blood cells. So your head follicles and head veins are all gone. And then you've become Sakura. I took my wife to the barbering shop. Look, my wife never did anything to her hair, natural, but so long and thick. Because of this medication, chemotherapy, you are just growing a lady, beautiful fair lady, growing bald. And then they have to shave you. This is so traumatizing that the person feels, say, I already know me, they have a certain defensive posture. So as you come to them, they themselves are already. Let me leave it here. But I'm just making the point that if you hear that anybody in your family has cancer, get close to them, reach out to them. It should not be just your money. It should be your help. And you should know how can you let one, if it's the husband, visit this person for 9 months?
Ben, can you imagine?
It's traumatizing.
It's 3 o'clock already. Let's talk about this book. At 3, we should be wrapping up, but I can understand the emotions with which you lay the issues. You have lived it. There is nobody to talk about it.
And
more
not to
than
cut you, I am speaking for. My wife is dead, Kwesi. She is buried long ago. We've moved on. But that 13-year-old boy, they are doing appeal for fund for him with his mother alone. There are several of them there. Who will speak for them, Kwesi? And I told somebody that if through these efforts, somebody gets to have another chance to live, then my wife didn't die in vain. For me, that's where the emotions come in. We've mourned my wife and she's gone. But then, that person, and they are keeping it secret. They come to church and go and receive their treatment. They come to church, go and receive their treatment. And then you don't see them anymore. I'm speaking for such people.
Let me read portions from the book.
Okay.
The last bit of it, you say, my personal commitments to cancer. My first contribution to the fight against cancer is the effort to write this book. The book was written at a time I had lost my wife, job, and was struck. And most people don't know this.
Yeah.
And because we have had a private chat on it.
Yeah.
You lost. Okay. It's in the book. So whether people.
Yeah,
so we can
they
talk
should get the book. And in fact, what I've done here, most authors don't do.
Yeah.
But then it's because the book is not written for money.
You lost your job in the course of it. The circumstances we cannot see.
I lost
here.
my job 1st January. You do 31st, and you are ready to face another year, 2020, and then your HR calls you. How is your wife doing? Oh, she's doing very well. Oh, is that so? Unfortunately, I don't have good news for you. So things like that.
You know, that aspect, and this was after we had our first interview in the studio.
Yeah.
That was the thing I came home with. I felt so sad, and
And unfortunately, that's what I didn't discuss in the book.
yeah, I'm happy you didn't, because a lot of people will be shocked about the details of the employment and the nature and the timing, which was so wrong. And, okay, let me continue reading. And you say, it also came at a time Ghana was in lockdown because of COVID-19, and I had to plan for the burial and funeral rites of my wife. While doing all these, I was looking for a new place to stay because where I was staying was no longer available to me. Imagine doing all this in addition to raising a 2-year-old boy all by yourself, bathing, feeding, washing his clothes, and playing with him were enough troubles. I went for months without sleep because the nights were the only period I could write when my son was asleep. These were enough troubles without having to revisit the story of what afflicted my wife again and again, to cross-check the facts on the lab reports, the prescription forms, the payment receipts, the pictures, speaking to doctors, nurses, trying to recall events, statements, etc. This was real torture and torment to me. I kept breaking down again and again after revisiting some of the accounts. In fact, during that period, I told somebody to take care of my son for me should anything happen to me. This was so because I knew I was going through so much pain, which was very difficult for my body to take. I did not subject myself to this because it feels exciting, and this is why I want you, the viewer, to pay attention to. I did not subject myself to this because it feels exciting to publish the darkest moments of my family in a book. The Lord, who kept me up night by night during that season, wanted me to make a sacrifice to the world by sharing my experiences with the hope of using it to awaken the conscience of society to a forgotten section of our population that is suffering and dying in silence without getting help. May this book be enough hope to all cancer patients. That help is coming to them. It is my prayer to God that this book will get our governments to act with urgency. May it challenge health professionals to do more, and may the business community find cancer victims a worthy cause to support. Then you go on to list, my second commitment to cancer is to make... It's enough, eh? Okay, so see, the book is here. Ben, how much are you selling it for?
We are selling this book for 40 Ghana cedis.
40
It is
cedis.
full color.
Full color.
With multiple pictures.
Yes, I've seen some
I
of the
didn't
pictures.
even print it at that cost. But then we are hoping that as many people who decide to support us and even pay more, we can some way recoup our production cost. But 40 cedis is what we are selling so that many people cannot afford. And I'm also saying that if genuinely you come by, contact me. We will make arrangement to see how you can get it.
The reason I feel so much attached to this project, not because it was written by the son of our pastor Kwiji, who was pastor in this very district, but because I also had opportunity to meet your beautiful wife. She was indeed beautiful.
Thank you.
And I emceed at your wedding. And that was the remark I brought back to my wife who didn't attend the wedding because of I said, Ben's wife is so beautiful and so humble, so pretty. Unfortunately, she couldn't live with us for long. So this will be to the memory of your wife, I tell you.
Yeah.
Like I said, I bought 2 copies. People have taken it from my hand. I'll go on to get another copy for my library and also for my own reading. But if you want to get it, just like Ben has said, and sincerely you can't afford, I think I'm in the position to buy a few copies for some people. It will help you to know the realities. Yeah. I call it sometimes, this is the harsh realities of life.
Yeah.
We all wish it away, but sometimes it happens. And for you in the health sector, one nurse is commenting as we are speaking. Hospital is not a nice place naturally for anybody. We can make it better if we know what we need to do. Ben, thank you so much.
Yeah.
Beyond the book.
If I can just, to add to where you can get a book. So you just have to call 0244 825187. 0244 825187. I'll say it lastly. 0244 825187. You don't need to come to me. Wherever you are, we will bring it to you. Yeah. And also, if you go to Tantra Hill Goyle filling station, the shop, you can get copies there. And if you are anywhere in the world, if you go to www.amazon.com.
It's on Amazon?
Yes. You can buy it online. You can get the Kindle, you can get the paperback, and it will all be for you. I know that, for those who buy this book, most of them, it's 267 pages, but most of them finish reading it in 2 hours because they say they can't put it down.
Yeah.
It's going to be something you will enjoy. Kwesi, please, you can.
I wish I could read some of the comments. We have some comments on Facebook. We have Mavis Tobin sent in a comment, said, "This is so real and heart-wrenching and vivid. We must not only listen, but do something. He has laid out what we need to do. Let's do something. And I can just imagine the face with which Deaconess Mavis Tobin is writing this. Eugenia Jadanso says, the family as the support system, very important. Henrietta Bosompim Okai says, deep. Amenyo Salah, our own presiding elder, says, whoa. And it speaks a lot. Nancy is a nurse. And Nancy says, Ghana health system. May the Lord help us all. Anna Sinto says, I pray decision makers in our country read this book and do something about it. May God help us in our health system. See, I don't want to be a pessimist. I have hope. Today I was having a discussion with my presiding elder when we talked about issues of insecurity. We talked about theft to somebody and the security situation in the country. And he remarked that our leaders concerned about this. And sometimes it's unfortunate that when you raise some of these issues, it becomes along the lines of politics other than policy. There's a difference. I'm in Monamako School, so you know what I'm talking about. I sincerely hope that policymakers will just see this as a national issue. It is not a book just to make money. 40 cities, bro, the reality is, even if you sell 1,000 of them, it's what? It's not something that can change your life. Yeah. It's something that when we read and we imbibe and take the lessons, we can change things in the nation. So take this.
I'm looking forward to every English Assembly member
having one.
And it is within our scope.
So let's do this. Let's do this. From our next meeting here is Sunday, where we'll meet as a church. If you are tuned into this broadcast, when we come to church, look for me. My name is Kwesi Ejeni Mbwating. Normally, you will find me close to the technical where they do the projection. Look for me. If you speak to any usher, look for me. Give me your name that you want a copy. I'll get a copy for you. It's limited now because I don't think you have a lot in your home as we speak.
But for those who want, we can get
we can make copies available. So it was published in Ghana?
Yes, please.
Okay.
Yes.
So the typesetting, everything done by you.
Yes. No, in fact, they have physical copies they can get.
Okay, great. And then those of you who want to do the e-book, like he said, it's available on Amazon. To get your book on Amazon, it's not easy. Charlie, we bless God for where this is going. And also, if you send a message or call the number 0244 825 187, you can send mobile money and the dispatch will bring it to you wherever you are. God bless you so much for joining our broadcast for today. Ben, thank you for opening up and coming through.
I'm so grateful. What I will just say is that it is people like you who give us platforms like this, who will make the voices of those who are currently groaning and mooning and saying, Doctor, I'm in pain. I'm in pain. It is people like you who will make such voices resonate in the places where decisions are being made.
Okay, so before you buy the book, do me a favor. Go on Facebook once again on this broadcast. Share it to your own Facebook page so that a lot of people will come and watch it after we've ended the broadcast. Thank you very much, technical team. Thank you, everybody who tuned in. Once again, the program is Rehoboth Hour, which came your way from the Church of Pentecost, Achimota, English. We do this every Sunday, 2 o'clock to the time, 3 o'clock. Today, we've gone a bit beyond the time because the subject matter we felt was also very interesting. God bless you. Bye-bye.